He-Man is the most powerful man in the universe. That's not opinion, that's canon. But here's the thing about power that nobody tells you. It attracts something worse than opposition. It attracts predators. The greatest source of power in the known universe is Castle Grayskull, and Eternia's villains have spent decades trying to tear it open. Some wanted the power inside. Some wanted revenge. One wanted something far more terrifying. They wanted to become the power itself. With a new Masters of the Universe film, we'd thought you might like to know who these villains are. What are their powers? And why do they pose a threat to the entire universe? This isn't merely a ranking. This is a deep dive unlike no other into some of the greatest villains ever written for film or television. Because here's the thing about ranking villains. Most people do it wrong. They count muscles. They count screen time. They count who looks the scariest standing on Snake Mountain. That's not what this is. I'm drawing from every era. Mini-comics, Filmation, the 2002 reboot, Revelation, the classics canon, and the latest film. If it's lore, it's on the table. Keep that thread in mind, because it's going to change everything. And make sure you stay until the very end, where we reveal shocking secrets about each villain that only true He-Man and the Masters of the Universe fans know. So the real question is, are you a true Master of the Universe fan? Let's see. The first on our list is Goatman. Klacky powers. Superhuman strength tied to his beast nature. Heightened endurance and resilience. Vulnerable to telepathic domination. Not a power, but a defining constraint. Goatman is not a monster by choice, and that's what makes him tragic. A member of the Goatmen, an intelligent humanoid race from Eternia's northern mountains. Creatures capable of standing upright, thinking, choosing. But the Goatmen carry a vulnerability that defined Klacky's entire existence. They are uniquely susceptible to the hypnotic domination of the Beastmen of Eternia. Let me put that in plain language. Goatman didn't join Skeletor's army. He was enslaved by it. His story begins in 1985 in a Golden Book storybook called Secret of the Dragon's Egg, written by Jack C. Harris, illustrated by Luis Eduardo Barreto. In it, Goatman appears as a henchman under Beastman's direct command, tasked with capturing a dragon's egg, an artifact of immense power. They fail. Fisto stops them. It's a minor footnote in a children's book. But the Masters of the Universe Classics canon changed everything. According to the Classics bio, Klacky was captured by the rulers of the Vine Jungle, Beastman's tribe. Stripped of his name, reduced to a function. They called him Goatman, the way you'd name a tool, not a person. He was forced to serve the warlord Rqazz and thrown into the second ultimate battleground, one of the most catastrophic conflicts in Eternian history. During that battle, Buzz-Off struck him down, gravely wounded, abandoned at the base of the central tower. Klacky dragged himself inside and stumbled into a time portal, hurled centuries into the future, into an Eternia ruled by King He-Man. And here's the part that should haunt you. Even in the future, even with Skeletor gone, Beastman still controlled him. The cycle never broke. Goatman's scar on Eternia isn't destruction. It's proof that some wounds don't heal across time. They just follow you. Revelation. Goatman is Eternia's proof that villainy isn't always chosen. Sometimes it's inflicted. Next we have Trapjaw, Kronis. Powers. Cybernetic arm with interchangeable weapon attachments. Laser, hook, claw, buzzsaw, and more. Iron-reinforced jaw capable of biting through steel. enhanced physical strength from cybernetic augmentation. Combat versatility, adapts to nearly any battlefield situation. What's worse than losing an arm? Losing everything but the arm. Trapjaw, the cyborg with the mechanical jaw and the interchangeable weapon arm. One of the most visually iconic villains in all of Masters of the Universe. But his origin is a story about a man who lost a war, lost his body, and then lost his identity. Before the metal, before the jaw, he was Kronis, a blue-skinned criminal who joined Keldor's warriors in an attempt to overthrow the Council of Elders. This is critical. Kronis wasn't a lackey. He was a revolutionary. He chose Keldor's side when Keldor was still a warlord, before the acid, before the skull, before Keldor became Skeletor. Here's what I find most fascinating about Kronis. When Keldor was disfigured and transformed into Skeletor, Kronis saw an opening. He tried to seize command for himself. He challenged the newly forged Skeletor, and he lost. Badly. Skeletor destroyed his arm and shattered his jaw as punishment. But here's where it gets dark. Evil-Lyn, seeing potential in the broken warrior, used her magic to bond Kronis to a cybernetic arm and an iron jaw. She gave him control over the false limb as easily as if it were flesh. But what she really gave him was dependency. Trapjaw wasn't rebuilt. He was leashed. Every time he uses that arm, he's reminded that his power belongs to Skeletor's court. He didn't choose the metal. It was chosen for him. In the 2002 series, Trapjaw's mechanical arm can swap between a hook, a laser, a claw, and a buzzsaw, making him one of the most versatile combatants in Skeletor's army. But versatility isn't the same as freedom. Revelation. Trapjaw is the villain who was punished for ambition and then rebuilt into servitude. His body is a monument to defeat. Every weapon he wields is a reminder that he lost the war for his own soul. And now, there is Spikor, Kleffton. Powers. Body covered in razor-sharp, impenetrable spikes. Makes physical combat against him nearly impossible. Trident arm capable of energy projection and close-quarters devastation. Enhanced durability. The enchanted armor renders him resistant to conventional attacks. Blacksmith expertise. Can forge dark weapons, including Skeletor's terror claws. He's not a monster. He's a mistake. Spikor, the walking weapon. A figure covered head to torso in razor-sharp spikes, wielding a mystic trident where his arm should be. Most fans remember him as just another scary face in Skeletor's lineup. But his origin story is one of the most disturbing in the entire franchise. Originally, Spikor was Kleffton, a blacksmith from the Eternian village of Nordling, a craftsman, someone who built things with his hands. And then he attempted to reforge the cursed tridents of Locus. Let me tell you about the most dangerous mistake ever made in a forge. The enchantment didn't just transform his armor, it fused with him. The spiked armor became his skin. The trident became his arm. Kleffton, the man, was erased. What walked out of that forge was something new, something that could never be touched, never be held, never be close to another living thing again. In the 1985 minicomic, Spikor serves as Skeletor's sinister blacksmith, forging the Terror Claws, weapons designed specifically to counter He-Man's strength. He's not just a fighter, he's an arsenal. In Masters of the Universe Revelation, he returns with a more battle-hardened presence, summoned by Evil-Lyn to Castle Grayskull after she ascends as its new sorceress. Even in the new era, Spikor's purpose remains the same. He is the weapon that was never meant to be unmade. Revelation. Spikor is what happens when ambition and craft collide with forces you don't understand. He is the permanent reminder that in Eternia, creation and destruction are the same forge. This brings us to Beastman. Raqquill Rqazz. Powers: telepathic control over most beasts and animals on Eternia. Superhuman strength. Estimated power of 100 elephants in some canons. Heightened senses. Tracking, hunting, predatory awareness. Command over the Beastmen tribes and Vine Jungle territory. Beastman. Raqquill Rqazz. The most savage warrior in Skeletor's army and the henchman most often at his side. If Skeletor is the brain of the evil warriors, Beastman is the fist, and the claw, and the jaw. His defining power is deceptively simple. He can telepathically control most beasts and animals on Eternia. That's not just a parlor trick. On a planet where the wildlife includes dragons, giant insects, and creatures capable of leveling cities, that power makes Beastman a one-man army without ever picking up a sword. Here's what makes Beastman uniquely terrifying. He was originally conceived as the main villain of the entire franchise, not Skeletor. Early Mattel development positioned Beastman as the central antagonist. It was only later that Skeletor was created and pushed to the forefront. But trace the DNA, and you'll see it. Beastman's design philosophy, the inhuman features, the primal rage, the animalistic power, became the template for what a Masters of the Universe villain looks like. In the Classics canon, Beastman rules the Vine Jungle, a savage domain where his tribe dominates through raw predatory instinct. He's not just a henchman. He's a warlord in his own right who chose to serve Skeletor because the Alliance gave him more creatures to command, more territory to hunt, more prey to dominate. Beastman's threat is containable. He commands beasts. He breaks things. He crushes opposition. But he doesn't transform Eternia. He doesn't rewrite its rules. He's a force of nature, and forces of nature can be survived. The two villains above him, they change the game entirely. Revelation. Beastman established the predator-prey hierarchy that governs Eternia's wild territories. His telepathic dominion over beasts isn't just a power, it's an ecological weapon that reshapes entire regions. Then we come to Triclops, the swordsman with no name. Powers. Tri-optic visor, 3 rotating eyes, each with a distinct function. Gamma vision, sees through solid objects, X-ray/vision through walls, rock, and barriers. Distavision, telescopic sight across vast distances. Combat eye, fires concussive force beams or blinding light projections. Master swordsman, defeated Battle-Cat, Ram-Man, and Teela simultaneously in the original mini-comic, combat skill rivaling He-Man's. Technological genius, designed robotic enhancements, surveillance systems, and weapons for Skeletor's forces, 2002 canon. Cult leadership, commanded the Motherboard sect, preaching technology over magic, Revelation canon. Panoramic awareness, the visor makes him nearly impossible to ambush in combat. This is the villain who breaks me. Because unlike every other name on this list, Triclops didn't lose a battle. He didn't make a foolish choice. He didn't reach for power he couldn't control. He trusted the wrong person. And that trust was weaponized so completely that it erased his entire life. Let me tell you about the most dangerous lie ever told on Eternia. Before the visor, before the rotating eyes, before Snake Mountain, he was a swordsman. No name survives, just a warrior traveling Eternia, skilled enough with a blade to single-handedly defeat Battle-Cat, Ram-Man, and Teela in the original 1983 mini-comic, The Terror of Triclops. This is not a minor combatant. This is someone He-Man struggled to beat in open combat. But his origin, told in the 2003 Icons of Evil one-shot written by Robert Kirkman, redefined everything. The swordsman saved a wizard from bandits. During the fight, a spell struck his eyes. The damage was catastrophic. It would destroy his vision completely. The wizard, grateful, took him in. Together they built a technological tower. Years of work, years of friendship. Machines designed specifically to break the spell and restore his sight, including a visor of extraordinary capability meant to replace what the magic had stolen. And then Keldor came. Before the acid, before the skull. Just a warlord with an army and an understanding of exactly how cruelty works. Keldor attacked the tower. But he didn't just storm it. He infiltrated the swordsman's mind. He convinced him that the wizard, his only friend, the person trying to cure him, was actually the one maintaining the spell. That the cure was a lie. That the technology they'd built together was never meant to free him, only to keep him dependent. And the swordsman believed it. Let's pause for a second. Think about what that means. A man who has lost his sight, his entire sensory world, is told that the one person he trusts has been lying to him for years. In total darkness, with no way to verify the truth. Keldor didn't need to defeat him in combat. He needed him to betray himself. The swordsman killed his best friend. And then Keldor took the technology, the visor meant to heal, and placed it on the swordsman's face. Not as a gift, as a leash. Every time Triclops rotates that visor, he's using the invention of the man he murdered. He can see because of the friend he destroyed. That is not a villain origin. That is a psychological collapse engineered from the outside. In the 2002 animated series, Triclops serves as Skeletor's chief inventor and technologist, creating robotic enhancements, weapons, and surveillance systems for the evil warriors. His visor grants 3 distinct visual modes: gamma vision, see through solid objects; distavision, telescopic sight over vast distances; and a third eye capable of firing concussive energy blasts. He's not just a warrior. He's Skeletor's intelligence apparatus, the eye that sees everything. In Masters of the Universe, Revelation, Triclops evolves further. After Skeletor's apparent death, he doesn't fade, he ascends. He becomes the leader of the Cult of Motherboard, a technology-worshipping sect that despises magic and views machines as the true path to power. He preaches. He gathers followers. He builds a movement. The man who was manipulated by lies becomes a manipulator of others, because the only way to survive a world that lied to you is to become the one telling the stories. And here's what haunts me. In no continuity, not Filmation, not 2002, not Revelation, not the classics, does Triclops ever learn the truth. He never discovers that Keldor engineered the deception. He never learns that his friend was innocent. He is the only villain on this list whose entire identity is built on a lie they've never been allowed to see. Revelation. Triclops is the proof that the deepest wounds aren't the ones inflicted on you. They're the ones you're tricked into inflicting yourself. Every rotation of that visor is a reminder, not of power, but of the friend he killed. He just doesn't know it yet. And now for the deadliest woman in Eternia. Evil-Lyn. Powers natural-born sorcery, casting without artifacts, channeling magic through pure will, teleportation across vast distances, energy projection from hands and eyes, shape-shifting and master of disguise, infiltrated the heroic warriors multiple times, telepathy and illusion crafting, Blue crystal magic, a unique arcane discipline tied to her crystal staff. Strategic intelligence, surpassing every member of the evil warriors. By the time I'm done, you are going to look at Evil-Lyn differently. Not as a sidekick, not as a lieutenant, but as the most dangerous mind in Eternia. Evil-Lyn, the only female member of the evil warriors, the shadow behind the skull, and the villain who came closer to destroying Eternia than Skeletor ever did. Not because she was stronger, but because she was smarter. Here's what I find most fascinating about Evil-Lyn. She doesn't need the wand. Her crystal staff amplifies what she already has, but she channels magic through sheer will and mastery. Teleportation, magical blasts from her hands and eyes, telepathy, shape-shifting, illusion crafting. She is one of the most naturally gifted magic users in the franchise, and she doesn't need Skeletor's approval to use any of it. In the mini-comics, she attempted to abandon Skeletor and join Hordak, not out of betrayal for its own sake, but because she calculated that Hordak offered a better path to power. He rejected her, not because she was weak, because he recognized that her ambition rivaled his own and her loyalty was always negotiable. Hordak was afraid of her. Let that sink in. The leader of the evil horde, a being of near absolute malice, looked at Evil-Lyn and said no, because he understood what Skeletor refused to, that she wasn't a servant. She was a successor waiting for her moment. And in Masters of the Universe Revelation, that moment came. After Skeletor's apparent death, Evil-Lyn didn't just take command. She became the sorceress of Castle Grayskull. She didn't steal the power. She was given it. Because in the absence of Skeletor's chaos, her calculated ambition looked like order. She weaponized patience. She waited while Skeletor burned himself out, and then she claimed the very seat of power he'd spent his entire existence failing to reach. Because here's the thing about Evil-Lyn. She doesn't need to be the loudest voice in the room. She doesn't need the skull throne. She operates on a timeline that Skeletor can't comprehend. Years, decades, watching, waiting, letting the men destroy each other while she positions herself one step closer to the throne every single time. Skeletor is the fire that burns the forest. Evil-Lyn is the rot that takes the roots. And by the time you notice the tree is dead, she's already sitting in its shade. Revelation. Evil-Lyn didn't just wound Eternia. She infiltrated its most sacred institution. She became the sorceress. She held Grayskull. She proved that the greatest threat to any system isn't the army at the gates. It's the mind already inside. That scar doesn't heal. It changes the system forever. And finally, we have one of the greatest threats to Eternia, Skeletor. Keldor. Powers: Master Sorcerer, spellcasting rivaling or exceeding most Eternian magic users. Havoc Staff, energy projection, dimensional manipulation, mind control, matter alteration. Skelegod form, temporary omnipotence after absorbing Grayskull's power. Strategic genius, commanding an army of evil warriors across multiple campaigns. Supernatural resilience, has survived death, dimensional exile, and bodily destruction. Let me tell you about the most dangerous mind ever to wear a skull. Skeletor. Keldor, the uncle of Prince Adam, the brother of King Randor, the fallen noble who burned his own face off with acid and rebuilt himself into something that no longer recognized family, mercy, or limits. Let's get the powers out of the way first because they're staggering. Skeletor is one of the most powerful sorcerers in the known universe. He commands the Havoc Staff, a conduit of dark magic capable of energy projection, matter manipulation, dimensional rifts, and mind control. His own spellcasting rivals or exceeds nearly every magic user on Eternia. He's survived dimensional exile, the destruction of his physical body, and direct confrontations with beings of godlike power. In Revelation, he literally becomes Skelegod, absorbing the power of Castle Grayskull itself and reshaping reality. But here's what makes Skeletor truly dangerous. And this is where most analyses miss the mark. His power isn't the magic, it's the ideology. Let's pause for a second. Skeletor doesn't just want to conquer Eternia. He wants to reframe it. He believes, genuinely believes, that power is the only truth in the universe, that restraint is weakness, that protection is cowardice in disguise. He-Man doesn't just stand in his way. He-Man is the philosophical negation of everything Skeletor believes. Every time He-Man holds back, every time he protects instead of dominates, he proves Skeletor's entire worldview wrong. And that, not the Power Sword, not Castle Grayskull, is why Skeletor cannot stop. It's not obsession. It's existential denial. In the mini-comics, he was originally a demon from another dimension, unknowable, ancient, and without origin. But the Keldor revelation made him worse. Because a demon has no choice. A fallen prince does. Skeletor chose every step into the dark. That's what makes him terrifying. Revelation. Skeletor is the permanent ideological threat that Eternia can never excise. He is the argument that power should have no limits, and that argument persists even when he's destroyed, because the idea never dies. I promised you something at the start of this video. Shocking secrets about each villain that only true Masters of the Universe fans know. Let's go. 7 secrets for the true fans. 1. Goatman's cameo in Masters of the Universe Revelation was hidden in plain sight. Most viewers missed him entirely. He appears in the background of a single crowd shot during the Eternia sequence, standing silently among the resurrected warriors. No lines, no close-up, a ghost in his own afterlife. The animators put him there as a gift for the lore-obsessed. If you spotted him, you're in a very small club. 2. Spikor was almost a heroic warrior. Early Mattel design documents show a prototype figure with the same spiked aesthetic but painted in heroic colors, intended to be a defender of Eternia, not a destroyer. The concept was reversed late in development. The spikes stayed, the allegiance flipped. Spikor was born from a hero that never existed. 3. Trapjaw's original 1981 figure was designed with a closed mouth. The iconic iron jaw was added during the sculpting phase after the designers realized the figure needed a more menacing silhouette. That one design choice, replacing flesh with metal, accidentally created one of the most disturbing origin stories in the entire franchise. 4. Beastman was originally going to be the main villain of Masters of the Universe, not Skeletor. Early Mattel development positioned a beast-like warlord as the central antagonist of the entire toy line and media franchise. Skeletor was created later in the design process and ultimately replaced Beastman as the face of evil. But trace the DNA. Beastman's design philosophy became the template for what an MOTU villain looks like. 5. Triclops' Filmation portrayal completely reversed his mini-comic identity. In the original mini-comics, he was one of the most lethal swordsmen on Eternia, defeating 3 heroic warriors simultaneously. In the Filmation cartoon, he was reduced to a technology specialist who rarely saw combat. Two completely different characters sharing the same name. The real Triclops, the warrior, has never appeared in animated form. 6. Evil-Lyn's real name may be May. According to expanded canon sources, the woman who would become Eternia's most deceptive sorceress was born May, and may have been trained by the original sorceress of Castle Grayskull herself before her fall into darkness. Think about what that means. The woman who infiltrated Grayskull may have once been its student. The greatest threat came from inside the house because she used to live there. 7. The acid that disfigured Keldor, the weapon that created Skeletor, was given to him by Hordak, the Horde's own supply. Keldor didn't just lose his face to a random battle. He was disfigured by his own future rival's weapon. The acid that burned away Keldor's humanity was a Horde product, which means the birth of Skeletor wasn't an accident. It was a transaction. Hordak handed Keldor the means of his own destruction and then watched him become the skull-faced warlord who would fight He-Man for decades. One weapon, 2 destroyed lives. That's not a backstory. That's a conspiracy. Final synthesis. Let me start with the undeniable fact. These 7 villains don't just threaten He-Man. They complete him. Because He-Man isn't defined by his power. He's defined by what his power resists. Goatman shows him that not every enemy chose this fight. Spikor shows him that creation can become catastrophe in a single mistake. Trapjaw shows him that punishment can forge a prison stronger than any cell. Beastman shows him that raw dominance reshapes the world, but only on the surface. Triclops shows him that the deepest wounds come from lies you never get to disprove. Skeletor shows him that an idea with no limits will outlive everybody it burns through. And Evil-Lyn shows him the most terrifying truth of all, that the greatest threat to any fortress isn't the army at the gates. It's the mind already inside. He-Man is the most powerful man in the universe, but power doesn't make you safe. It makes you a target. And these 7 predators have spent decades proving it. Drop a comment. Which of these villains do you think came closest to actually breaking He-Man? I read every single one. And if you're new here, this is what Villainologist does. We go deeper. Subscribe because we're just getting started.